but it's much worse than biomass. It is also very dangerous for children, very bad. Now in Vietnam, experimentation in Indonesia and in China, and I think it's going to be a new category for BP, global consumers. And if we can touch the lives of 20 million households, not a bad thing. Just imagine how much of deforestation we avoid, how much of respiratory disease we avoid, and how much easier life is. And anyway, the cooker now looks like this. Is it a good design? How much do you think it costs? It's all stainless steel. Huh? Now you're starting to get the message. Actually, it's $11. And this design that goes to China. What is the interesting thing? It goes back to the original idea of core competence and core products. The entire internal sleeve and all that is the same. It is just organized for the wok. That's very different from here, which is organized for regular cooking. So the external looks different, but the internal stuff is the same. That's how you leverage as a global company. One thing we did learn in this process is social activists, SCSOs, and actors, the traditional laws were very adversarial with the multinational company. But if you look now here, the emerging role, we could not have done it without civil society working with us. So it's a very collaborative, symbiotic relationship, and creating business at the bottom of the pyramid. So is the large company, not just doing CSR, but doing real business. So suddenly, the most important lesson for BP is how to deal with civil society in an honest, open way in a real business. Of course, this business is never going to be equivalent to oil in profits or size, but there is huge learning here. So I believe that very soon, when we start democratizing commerce, the convergence of the interests of the multinational company and the NGO will become quite important. Going from very adversarial relationship to recognition of each other and low-level interactions, that is what I call CSR, to letting each other into other people's core businesses in some tasks, to finally developing long-lasting co-creation relationships. And that, I think, is where we are headed. So the second case study, which I think is interesting, is how to take supply chains connecting rural poor with global markets, which is the micro-producer idea, not the micro-consumer idea. So how many of you have heard of Echopal in ITC? ITC used to be British American Tobacco, and then it became Imperial Tobacco in India. Now, of course, you can't call anything Imperial in India anymore, so just call it ITC. They gave one PC per village connected to the internet, and one farmer became the custodian, and he had to take an oath saying he will give equal access to all consumers, all farmers. And today, maybe number is about 2 million farmers are involved, tremendous gains. And I just want you to see what the farmers have to say. These are the farmers who have never even seen a typewriter before. Because people assume that poor people cannot rapidly gravitate to advanced technology, not just the cell phones, also PCs. If there is money, they will figure this out in a hurry. Just show you. Now, no different from you and me.
जिस समय पहले दिन यहाँ पे कंप्यूटर लगाने वाला इंजीनियर आया तो हमें ये माउस पकड़ना भी नहीं आता था। लोग समझते नहीं थे कि हमारे कंप्यूटर पे भी कोई हिंदी का भी कोई काम हो सकता है। तो अच्छी तरह समझने में 3 महीने के परिश्रम इसमें लगे। अगर आप लोग ये चौपाल बंद कर दें तो हमें ऐसा लगता है कि हमें अपना खुद का पीसी खरीद के और नेट कनेक्टिविटी करनी पड़ेगी। कॉस्टली तो मैं जो है मैक्सिमम टाइम मेरा एक तो कीबोर्ड की रिकॉर्ड देखता हूँ। एवरी मैच का या कुछ किसान ये शिकागो बोर्ड ऑफ ट्रेड जो है डेली देखने से उसको उसका एक आइडिया मालूम पड़ता है फ्यूचर ट्रेंड क्या हो सकता है मार्केट का और उस हिसाब से मैंने यहाँ के किसानों को सजेशन भी दिए हैं
और उससे बेनिफिट भी मिला है। ये किसान है, ये अपना माल 1000 में बेचने के लिए तैयार थे, इनको रोक दिया हमने कि ये अभी माल अभी बेचना नहीं अपने को। वही माल इनका 1300 रुपये में बिका कुछ दिनों बाद ही। मैंने पीपल रवा में कम से कम 10 लाख रुपये का बेनिफिट करवाया है, केवल सजेशन देके। अरे अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर की बात करता है, खासकर हमारे यहाँ बेटा हुआ है। आपने शिकागो में भाव देखा, आपने भोपाल का भैया ये थोड़ा कितना तेज हो गया, हम तो आज उसका कारण हम जाने रहा हूँ।
You can see who that person is. Why is he so upset? He is the middleman. He is the intermediary. You don't have to know the language at all. He used to make money because there was no information at the village. Suddenly, he has been bypassed by the system. Now, what is the benefit? You can see that they are talking to the Chicago Board of Trade. So, we asked them, why do you check the Chicago Board of Trade? And the old man says, you are the educated one, you should know. We did not know. Then you find that a lot of soybean from India is sold internationally. And therefore, the prices are dependent on what happens in the Chicago Board of Trade. They figured this out after 3 months. And now they decide when to sell. The interesting thing is the farmers get 10% more or 9% more for the same product because now the intermediaries are gone. The company gets it for 5% less. Now, that's the interesting part. The farmer gets more, the company gets it cheaper. Why? Elimination of distribution inefficiencies. That's what it is. And what is more interesting, now we have built the infrastructure. You can communicate with the farmer. It was interested only in sourcing. Now, they can now sell agricultural products, either fertilizer, better seeds, insurance, weather insurance, crop insurance. All of them go back to the farmers. Now they created a marketplace in the village where they can aggregate all the demand and then communicate to the head office, and they can, now the company has made a lot of deals with other people who supply insurance and so on. It all goes back to the village. This is possible to do. I gave you the example of Amul this morning. This is another example, same. It's happening everywhere. Because fundamentally, you have to eliminate the reason why cell phones are such an interesting device is eliminates the asymmetry of information between the rich and the poor. Part of poverty is lack of information. Once you eliminate asymmetry in information, you eliminate asymmetry of choice, then asymmetry of capacity to enforce contracts. Think about this. Now the farmer has as much power to enforce contract as the large company because he has a paper trail or electronic trail. So the company cannot say, because I'm big, I can run over you and say, I didn't agree to it. He can show you the email. I said, sorry, my friend. It's a very interesting equalizer. And therefore, asymmetry in dignity and self-esteem can also be changed. You saw this? Decentralized manufacturing, highly organized milk production, and then you have the largest milk dairy in the world, 6.5 million kilograms per day. And you can find it in the US. So Amul or ITC, it is the same story, decentralized origination, partitioning of the task, on-site and off-site, and world-class centralized facilities. So I want to leave you with a few thoughts. One, should all innovation come from the top of the pyramid to the bottom? Or can some come from bottom of the pyramid to the top? So if you're a global company, should we be in both places? Should we be experimenting in both places? Because I do not believe red is the only route, even though most of us still behave as if that's the only route. And I hope I've given you enough examples today to show maybe there is a new route of where innovations will travel. That means, in summary, I believe globalization can benefit all. Democratizing commerce or inclusive capitalism is a reality. We can make it happen. The market is large, it's $5 trillion in purchasing power parity, but the market is